All right, here we go, guys. This is today's chart. It's up here. Let me know if you guys can see it, if you guys can hear me okay. I want to make sure that this transmission comes through because Uranus, the planet of change, invention, electricity, our nervous system, it's getting ready to ingress into Gemini within minutes. Here we are at 29 degrees, 58 minutes. So it's here getting ready to conjunct. This is the planet Venus. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, are these two planets talking to me? And so I just want to say, first and foremost, if you're here, if you've never been here, thank you for popping in and being a vibrational match to this sort of streaming consciousness through livzenastrology. I consider myself a storyteller, right? Telling the story of cosmic energies and astrology in perhaps a new way, in a way that's never been told before, in my own unique perspective. So I just want to preface that everything that comes through this channel is just an opinion. It's just a story. As a storyteller, I am just sharing my vision and my version of how I see astrology, how I'm experiencing astrology. And because of my own particular configurations, I'm here to work with collective energies. So you might relate to the way this astrology story is being told. Remember, it's just a story. And so today we're going to go into the story of Ophiuchus. And who is Ophiuchus and why was his name Asclepius first? And then he was created in the Ophiuchus constellation, right? So there's some deep mysteries here that wanted to unfold. I've been up since about, 3:30 this a.m. just with this new sense of energy, this new momentum. I don't know if you guys are energetically sensitive. I definitely am. I could feel this ingress of Uranus moving from Taurus, which it's been in the last 7 years. So Uranus is about teaching us what? New, different insights, aha moments, divine electrical currents coming into what? Taurus, the body, our grounded, unique vessel, right? It also rules value. It rules money. Right. So if you look at everything Taurian here right now, I've got a wheel up of just a traditional chart starting at 0 degrees Aries, and it's just following the zodiacal wheel all the way to Pisces 12th house. So you can kind of see where the energies are at right now and where this sort of transmission came through. Well, last night I was told to, maybe you guys can relate. Sometimes I call it conscious movie watching. And I was told to watch the movie Contact last night, right? So I was getting all kinds of codes from Carl Sagan and that whole, receiving information. She was really listening. So if you've never watched the movie Contact, it's got Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. Really great. They're both Scorpios, by the way, which I think is really interesting. Because right now we're being told to have this scorpionic energy because it's Plutonian ruled right now. Pluto rules Scorpio, and Pluto's in Aquarius. So we're being asked right now to really focus our energy. And I'll go into more why I'm seeing this and why it was coming through. Because there's all kinds, we need to learn to listen. In the movie, if you go watch the movie Contact, Jodie Foster was considered crazy because she was working for SETI, right? As this search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And so all the other, physicians and doctors, whatever, her counterparts would laugh at her and shun her for this. But she was determined because of her deep sense of loneliness, right? If you watch the movie, just spoiler alert, she loses her father. And so it's really about this internal search to find her father. She wants to be left alone because both her mom and her dad left her, right? Her mom died when she was a child, and then her father died when she was 9. So this is also going back to the archetype of losing our parents, right? Feeling alone in the universe. And so what I was shown last night and coming into today, and again, being up since 3:30 this morning with all this Uranian information, it's like, she had to use a satellite to be able to hear the messages, right? So she ended up, the movie is where she made a contact with Vega. She was able to tune into a certain frequency and start getting information, data that helped them ultimately build this machine where they can have contact, right? Where they can actually exchange information, and she could travel, if you will. Although it appeared in the movie she didn't go anywhere. which is another sort of, when you get into the alchemy of this. Hold on, guys. I've got something in my eye here. It's bothering me. Sacred pause. How are you guys doing today? Manny, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being a vibrational match to this transmission. How was your sleep state? Because mine was, but ironically enough, I'm not tired. Sometimes when I don't sleep, I'm kind of dragging. But today I feel actually really good. I feel, hydrated and, just learning to take care of myself. Uranus was in Taurus for the last 7 years. So by this time we had to learn to take care of our bodies and our nervous system, especially since we have all this information coming in. And like in the movie Contact, it was showing me that we're now in alignment. Like if we are our brains, our pineal gland is a radio receiver or an antenna, right? And so we're now tuned into these certain frequencies. We're in alignment right now with Uranus getting ready to ingress into Gemini with all sorts of new information and new, basically, new beings, right? Because in the movie Contact, she was able to contact the constellation Vega in that Vega system. And that's where they were getting all the information, how to build the technology, how to, transport, travel, right? Connect to the extraterrestrial part of ourselves. So this is what very much is about. Uranus is about the extraterrestrial. And with Gemini, it's the mind, right? It's how we perceive our reality. We're science says that we only really see just a fraction of the light that's all around us, that our human perception is limited to what we can perceive with infrared and blue beams, and I'm still learning the science behind it, but you know what I'm saying, right? So humans can only see a certain fractal part of the light. So what's happening is now we're starting to, what if that's changing with this ingress of Uranus into Gemini? And if you can see it right here, if you're looking at the screen, it's at 29 degrees and it's right there next to Venus. It's our love, our money, how we perceive our bodies, right? Venus is also aesthetics. It's beauty. It's divine intelligence, right? So now this is what's happened, what an astrologer is called a conjunction that's happening. But what was interesting is it brought in this technology, this awareness of the Ophiuchus energy. So I'm going to screen share a little bit about Ophiuchus. I'm going to read the story of Ophiuchus and who he was and how he came to be and why he's kind of showing himself right now on the screen. This is him right here. He's at 10 degrees Leo right now. And so this energy is actually trining Mars at 12 degrees. Right next to Saturn at 8 degrees in Aries, right? So this is what Asclepius is. I'm going to read you the story. Sit back, have a cup of coffee. I'm going to take a sip of my tea here. We're going to read about Asclepius and his correspondence to Ophiuchus and astrology and why it matters in relation to our healing abilities. And again, this is just a story time, folks. It's just an interesting story that we're pulling from astrology, and we're just telling it in a really cool and interesting way about the possibility of humanity. So here we go. Just read it to you because I like to read. The story we forgot. Who was Asclepius really? Before Ophiuchus became a constellation, he was a man, or more accurately, a bridge between human and divine. Asclepius was said to be the son of Apollo, god of light, truth, prophecy, and healing, and a mortal woman named Coronis. And already we're working with the dual nature, divine intelligence and human embodiment. And I also think, too, it's interesting, it's the god of light, Apollo, which is the sun, and Coronis, which is like the corona, right? Think of like 2020 and the Coronis. Very interesting. But the story begins with loss. Coronis dies in many tellings, killed before Asclepius is born, and Apollo, in a moment of intervention, rescues the unborn child from her womb. So Asclepius is born through crisis, interruption, and extraction from death. So the son, his father, saved him from death. Okay, so his life begins not in comfort, but in an initiation moment. Apollo, he was raised by a centaur. So Asclepius was then given to Chiron, the centaur, which is considered in astrology the wounded healer, but Chiron is a teacher. Chiron is the archetype of, he's the master teacher that teaches all the gods, right? So he's the one that carries the knowledge of pain, medicine, and transformation simultaneously. And under Chiron, Asclepius learns herbal medicine, surgery, energetic healing, and the intelligence of the body. And here's where the story turns interesting, because what Asclepius learns next doesn't come from Chiron. It comes from a serpent. And there are multiple versions of this moment, but they all point to the same truth. Asclepius encounters a serpent. In one telling, he kills it. But then another serpent appears carrying herbs and brings the first serpent back to life. And Asclepius watches. He doesn't intervene, he just simply observes. And in that observation, he learns the secret of restoring life in the herbs. Notice, let this land as well, because to me, herbs is represented by Mother Earth and nature, right? Goat plant medicine. So in that moment, in this transmission, this is the moment and this is the transmission when he saw and observed another snake healing and bringing the other snake back to life with herbs, that the transmission didn't come from a god, it didn't come from a teacher, but it came from nature itself, from the serpent. So the serpent has always symbolized regeneration, life force energy, cyclical renewal, hidden intelligence, and medicine that can both harm and heal. Even today, the symbol of medicine, the Rod of Asclepius, is a serpent wrapped around a staff. And it's not a sword, it's not a shield, but it is a serpent. Because the ancients understood something we've forgotten. The same force that can disrupt you can also restore you. Venom doesn't just destroy you, it stimulates response. It activates your immune system and it forces adaptation. So what if the serpent was never the wound? What if it was always the activation of the body's, I say, divine natural intelligence? Asclepius became so skilled and so attuned to this divine natural intelligence that he began to do something extraordinary. He was bringing people back from being unalived. Let's just put it that way. So let's pause for a second. He had the ability of, who's that? That character in the Bible, Lazarus, right? So he was able, through observation and working with the snake medicine, snake wisdom of divine intelligence, to learn how to basically create a Lazarus opportunities. Let's just put it that way, right? Bringing people back from the unalived state. But what was interesting about this story is that Zeus, the god, the king of the gods, said that humanity wasn't ready for this level of consciousness. So in the myth, Zeus strikes Asclepius down with a thunderbolt. Now, there can be many side stories there if you think about Zeus and who created the gods and who even created these stories. You can see where perhaps there may have been a story where it wasn't beneficial for humanity to know how to heal itself, especially if you're trying to sell stuff, if you know what I mean. So from that perspective, it wouldn't benefit humanity to know how for humanity to heal itself. So this is just something to come across in the myth as well. And the story, again, this is just a story. So we're talking about here not as punishment, but maybe the natural order was also a story. Okay, so we know it. We're starting to tune in what natural divine intelligence is, but we're also starting to understand that maybe natural divine intelligence wasn't always what we taught. Okay, so this is also this Gemini perspective, because we're starting to have a new perspective of our ability to heal and what healing really constitutes and how it's connected to the image of the serpent. So let's continue on with this story. So from man to constellation, the one who holds the serpent. So after his death, Asclepius is placed in the sky as Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. And this image matters because he's not bitten and he's not fighting. He's not afraid. He's holding the serpent, which means he has learned from it. He's in right relationship with it, and he's no longer reactive to it. He can hold life, death, transformation, all without collapsing, which also too is the Trinity, right? The Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, trifecta of the tribunal God, right? The tri energy, right? The triangulation, right? The eye of Horus, that particular configuration, that God form, right? So this is also something to do with the deeper knowledge. And again, it's for you guys to kind of deep into. But what was coming in today was about this axis, because when the constellation Ophiuchus is really relevant, it's during around the end of November. So between November 29th and December 18th, that's when the sun moves into Ophiuchus. So in the northern hemisphere during that time, there's always an opposition energy, because signs really learn to pull from one another. So it's not opposing forces, but it's how these energies integrate in the middle point. And so the middle point in the opposite sign right now of the zodiac during the time period that this transmission wants to come through is during Gemini season. So when one part of the world is experiencing Ophiuchus, right, between November 29th, December 18th, the opposite end of the world is experiencing Gemini season, right? So I'm in the northern hemisphere right now, and we're getting ready to enter late May, mid-June, which is Gemini season. And Gemini governs perception, language, interpretation, the nervous system, meaning, and meaning making. So now we're looking at the axis that hasn't fully been named in modern astrology, because we are now just learning to integrate the Ophiuchus embodied activation, life force, healing, intelligence energy with Gemini. It's opposite, which is the interpretation of that ability to heal or to activate or to have those activations within us. And so this is sort of a new awareness. Again, Uranus is coming in and activating the mind because it's conjunct Venus, right? Showing us that Venus, which rules the body, because it co-rules Taurus and Libra, which is about balance. So it's showing us that there might be a new interpretation with how healing looks and feels. Because this is the truth that most people are living inside without realizing, is that your body experiences something. Intensity and sensation, emotion and activation, and that's Ophiuchus. But what if the mind has been coming in because we've been taught to fear certain healing crises, or maybe certain things that are going in the body? We've been misinterpreting what's been happening in the body. And our former Gemini perspective was saying that the same experience of activation can be labeled as anxiety, or sensation can be illness, or emotion can be danger, or activation energy can be seemed like overwhelm. Or could you perhaps now, with this new energy field with Uranus getting ready to be ingress into Gemini, can we convert that perspective into an awakening, a healing moment, a divine intelligence coming through and giving us transformation? And we're just experiencing all this in a new way, never before seen or understood way. So that's the issue. That's the initiation. And that's the revelation right now, because we're getting ready to approach a full moon in Scorpio here on May 1st, and then another full moon in Sagittarius on May 31st, which is right in this realm, this window of the Ophiuchus energy, the opposition of Ophiuchus energy. So we're being asked right now to, how are we perceiving our bodies? How are we perceiving this serpent energy, in which some cultures call Kundalini, right? Which really is just power, our ability to harness and wield our own power. Then you have the ability perhaps to learn, and this is just what the story's teaching us, right? That you might have the ability to learn how to heal yourself, right? So again, this is just a story. This is just something that we're exploring as humanity, as we're learning to be sovereign, because we do have all these planets right now in Aries. We've got Neptune, how we're imagining reality to be. We've got Saturn wanting to bring new structure to this imagined reality. We've got Mars wanting to take action. But what's interesting is Mars is trining, or having a harmonious energy with this Ophiuchus. Is right here is the symbol for Ophiuchus. And I feel like what came in to activate it was the moon. The moon came into transit and to illuminate and to help me remember, like, oh yeah, we do have these self-healing abilities within us. The planets are reminding us these energies, these hidden sort of constellation points that humanity has been dancing around with the Ophiuchus energy in opposition, which would be Orion, which would be in Taurus. And that's another configuration right now because we do have the sun illuminating the Taurian energy, which is also representing that Orion energy in the star point, right, in that constellation that's opposite Ophiuchus, which has been hidden, right? Serpent energy, our own Kundalini, which is our power. Think of like if we're electrical current, right? And we're our own, let's say, nuclear power plant, right? Because Pluto rules nuclear energy. And we all have Pluto somewhere in our chart. And right now, humanity, we all have Pluto in Aquarius, which is right here, which is the collective energy. So we have a collective power plant that we are more powerful together when we can charge and generate our current through what? Through knowledge, through one another, through Gemini, right? Here we go. Venus, we've talked about this on the channel, that your own currency is your own current, and current is money, right? It's your value. It's what you exchange in value for one another, how we represent, how we appreciate value in one another through sharing each other's gifts. Okay. So, all called Seven Sisters, our Sarsi New Year's. Okay. It's called Seven Sisters. When is the new year? Bam Bam. I'm just curious as to when that is, because again, there's this activation initiation, because Uranus, it had been going back and forth into Gemini and Taurus, and now it's going fully into Gemini. So we'll never before again see Uranus and Taurus in our lifetime, because it takes 84 years to transit a full cycle. So for the next 7 years, the highlight's going to be in Gemini, which is the mind. And with this Ophiuchus energy, it's really what I'm seeing and sensing and feeling is that we're being reminded how to self-heal. In the story of humanity, in the fable book of Story of Humanity, that's what Ophiuchus has been hiding in plain sight, really, is our ability to harness and to be activated by our own Kundalini serpent life force energy, which exists in the spine. And it's an alternating current, right? It's an ascending and descending current. We got Jacob's ladder going up and down the spine. So it's learning to complete the circuit and learning that we do, perhaps, just what the ancestors, Greek mythology is telling us, is that we do have the ability to regenerate and to, again, the triple God, the tribunal God of life, birth, life, and death, right? So we have that tribunal energy within us, and it's activated by these axis points between Taurus and Scorpio and Sagittarius and Gemini, right? So it's that quadrant within the cosmic energy field, and we all have these quadrants somewhere within your chart. So if you're wanting to reach out for a more personalized chart session to see where these energy fields are within your own chart, please reach out. livzenastrology@gmail.com. You can book a chart session. I've got the links and stuff to my bio. And if you like this type of information, please like, subscribe, share, do all the things. It really helps the channel. Thank you. So coming off of this sort of axis, this awareness that wanted to be transmitted today, I wanted to pull from the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck. For anybody that's here that's a vibrational match to receive this type of energy, this sort of self-healing remembrance, because what I'm being shown is that all of us have the ability to self-heal. That is, we are remembering that our ancestors are coming back online and showing us and letting us know that we do have these abilities innately within us, as the story says, right? So again, that's the story I'm telling myself right now in this game of life, because why not, right? And then you start looking at some teachers like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who were showing the power of belief, right? And the placebo effect. If you believe it will be so, then it will be so, right? So this is what this Asclepius energy is showing us, that through power of observation and listening, right? Because he observed the snake. I mean, he killed the snake. He created death. And he watched how the serpent energy, right, the other serpent, the second serpent, was able to come and through herbs, through plants, able to bring this energy force back to life. So what a fantastic story about this ability to self-generate and to regenerate. Think of like a snake that sheds its skin continuously to grow and to expand, and it keeps coming back. And so this is sort of the archetype of the energy that wants to be expressed. So I'm going to be pulling from the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck, since this is about working with, we are in Taurus season. The sun has ingressed into Taurus, it's at 5 degrees. So there are plants within our own divine alchemy that perhaps want to be utilized. So this is for anybody that decides to join this conversation or comes across this. This was meant to be for you. So please trust that. And again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a physician. This is just for entertainment purposes only, to use this as a reflection. And again, as a story about healing and perhaps the way the story wants to be told in this now moment. And so using this Oracle deck will help us to tell a story about how possibly we can tap into our own healing abilities. So this is for anybody that's watching this now. I'm going to ask for 3 sets of herbs, please, that will be activating our own ability to self-heal for those that need this type of healing, and this who's ready to remember their own self-regeneration properties that you already have going on within you. You're just learning to remember it. And is there an herb or a flower or a plant that can help whoever's watching this, whoever comes across this, to activate their own healing gnosis and remembrance? Oh, come, I guess this is so funny because I took it today. Lion's Mane, leadership is number 18. And that card has to do, you can see here, you guys can see that, but it has to do with the planet Mercury and Uranus. So I immediately looked to see where Mercury is at. Well, of course, let's see, where is Mercury at? Yeah, it's in Aries, right? So first house. And also Uranus, I see where the planet Uranus is. And we know Uranus is getting ready to go into Gemini, which is actually going to be sextiling. So it's a positive friction. So lion's mane, I would invite you to look up what the properties of lion's mane. It's a mushroom. What it does, it actually looks like a lion. It's got white hair on it. That's why they call it the lion. From what I understand, it's really good for neurogenesis and regrowing neural pathways in the brain. So those that are worried about Alzheimer's, I'm not saying it's a cure for it. I'm just saying that that's what some people are. Again, this is just a story. Do your own research. I'm not a doctor, but you might want to check into the energy of lion's mane, just the energetics, and just tapping into it, read more about it, see. And if you're called to work with it, then you're using your own discretion. I would always check with your own doctor or naturopath before starting any of these herbs, okay? And so the second herb that may want to be worked with, just one please, one at a time, for your own self-healing gnosis is Damiana. And this is number 11. It's the beloved, and it's ruled by Venus and Pluto. So we talked about Venus being right next to Uranus, right? How we change beauty, love, what we're drawn to, or attraction or magnetism. And of course, Pluto, which is the planet, is trining this energy. So you can see that it's going to be trining Pluto. So really, and Pluto is about our power. Pluto rules Scorpio. So it is our ability to transform and transfigure and turn alchemy into gold, right? And to be our own healers, because Scorpios are the master healers. And they use that Plutonian energy to change with enough life force to shift from one geometric pattern, chemical constitution to another. You need that power, that generative principle. That's why I love having this graphic, right? That generator. So there's a trine happening right now, and Damiana can help you. It says beloved. So, and it's the number 11. So I feel like it's divine unity within your own ascending and descending currents, your own masculine and feminine. masculine being the electric part of you and the feminine being the magnetic, right? We're bioelectrical magnetic beings. So it's really about the divine marriage within, and Damiana could help support that. Again, use your own discernment. These are just entertainment purposes only, just an oracle card pull reflection for how to perhaps activate your own healing abilities at this time using the Ophiuchus energy around the end of May into mid-June time. So this is just because, there's going to be so many perhaps mental health issues at play, because Gemini does rule the mind and Uranus rules instability. So it can be causing disruptions in how you're perceiving reality. So be very mindful of what is real. There's a lot of AI stuff happening right now. And so it's really up to you to say what is real, what is not real. It's how does it feel in your nervous system? So it's getting in your nervous system in a new way. So it's really learning to bring coherence to both hemispheres of the brain. So this is just to support some herbs that might help support that. Again, I'm not a doctor, but this is just an intuitive read on some herbs and plants. Since the Ophiuchus energy, when he observed the one snake healing the other, the snake was using an herb, right, to bring the other snake back to life. So there's codes there in the story, in the mythos. And the first cards that we've already looked at was Lion's Mane and Damiana. So these are two of the herbs or the mushrooms or the plants that want to be perhaps connected to. You don't maybe have to do it in the physical, but just connect to these energies. Again, it's up to you how you decide to use it, but it's just to bring awareness that perhaps we always have had these regenerative self-healing abilities innately deeply within us, but it's been hidden, right? Because the Ophiuchus energy, the Asclepius energy, even the story has been hidden. And then when he did figure out how to basically bring somebody back from the dead, the gods struck him down with lightning, right? Said, well, humanity wasn't ready for this. So there's also stories, there's do your own gnosis about who would want to stop humanity from being able to heal itself. Something to reflect on. Again, interesting story. So the third card that wanted to come through is Comfrey. And the term associated with Comfrey is completion. And it's Saturn. So there we go, Saturn right there, Aries. I'd say maybe use it in the head, use it as a T. Comfrey, even in the word, it's going to bring comfort. It's going to bring nourishment, right? If you're exploring your ability to heal yourself, again, this is a story only, then these perhaps herbs might activate you into the remembrance that we all have the codes within us, perhaps perchance, maybe, who knows, to be able to heal ourselves if we're following the story, and why this Ophiuchus energy wants to be highlighted at this time. And again, looking at the astrology, which is the second full moon in May. So we have our first full moon in May, May 1st, which is in Scorpio, and I can go and talk about that, and I'll do another report on that. But this energy really wanted to come through with this Ophiuchus, because you can see here at this time period on May 31st, the moon is going to be in Sagittarius, which is going to be trining this Ophiuchus energy. And it's also going to be trining Saturn, which we just saw Comfrey had to do with Saturn, right? So it's bringing stability to what? Your nervous system, to your thoughts, to your head, because Gemini or Aries rules the head. And here we go. Uranus is going to be right in between this energy field. Let's look at the planets that are going to be in between Saturn and Aries, which is trining this Asclepius energy, which is right where Ophiuchus is, okay? Excuse me. Which we know Ophiuchus is in the Sagittarius constellation, right? Between Sagittarius and Scorpio. So that's also going to be trining this energy. If you're looking, the moon's going to come to activate it. And it's going to help you remember, Jupiter helped to expand what? Cancer is the womb. That we can go into the primordial waters of the deep mother, which is our matriarchal ancestry, and Venus right there through the womb of Venus, right? The Venus is our love. It's our ability to beautify, to harmonize. It's also ruled by Libra, to balance. What? To bring our own sacred waters in the womb to homeostasis, the ability to heal and to use certain plant medicines, because here's Mars in Taurus. Taurus is the earth, Mars is taking action. So you might be called to use certain substances of the plants, of mushrooms, certain fungi, certain reintroducing bacteria from ancient soils. I'm thinking of gut support health, right? Because Uranus is going to be coming in to activate this Gemini mind. There's Uranus, or there's Mercury in Gemini, which is going to be conjunct here at the beginning of the month. We can go and talk about that at another transmission, but this is what wanted to be looked at right now, is that this is going to be sandwiched in between. So you've got Mars, your action, Uranus, your electrical system, your nervous system, your ability to have flashes of insight next to the sun, which is going to illuminate your ability to rethink, repurpose your thoughts and your perception, because Mercury's going to be there, and to see your ability to heal in a new way, to see medicine, to see earth medicine, plant medicine, see your body, to relearn how to alchemize in a whole new way. And the moon's going to activate that remembrance. It's going to be in Sagittarius. You already have the knowledge within you innately. It's just now these planetary energies are coming like a time clock to activate that remembrance for humanity. So this is going to be definitely a pivotal times with all this Aries energy too, to really be focused on health and your ability to heal and harmonize, because also Uranus rules vibration. So the power of sound, right? Mercury, how literally vibrations create certain brainwave patterns, which those brainwave patterns are how we perceive reality based on how they're formed. So are they coherent or are they disoriented? And so this is where the mastery is like, no, we're bringing coherence now, Saturn, new structures to how we perceive reality by harmonizing. This is Taurus, right? Through Venus, balance, love, the womb, our sacred waters, fourth house, the mother, the divine feminine, the divine magnetic aspects of us. So you might wonder, because Jupiter's expanding, you really work with water medicine, right? This is Dr. Emoto. This is speaking to your water, tuning your water, harmonizing, doing some sort of humming with your water. I like to use tuning forks with the water. So this is a very potent activation time, and then we can move forward here because it's going to be about through mid-June. So you can see here that there's going to be more water, how we think is also going to be in Cancer. So it's also tied to our emotions, and emotions is tied to memory. So there's an ability to really heal the memory banks of our mother's waters, of our ancestors, by going and revibrating and creating a new cymatical pattern, new structure, right? Structured water, structured thoughts, new structured perspectives. Maybe using lion's mane to create, because it's immutable, right? It's a mutable sign. Gemini's mutable, it's changeable. Helps you change your neural pathways, the way you're perceiving reality. And so this is a deeply alchemic time that perhaps we never had access to, because we're coming into this age of remembrance, of awakening, of getting our electrical grid back online, if you will, within our neural pathways, within our brain, perceiving ourselves in a whole new way with a lot more confidence. Aries, with that heart of the child that just knows like it knows. Your instinct, if you go and you hurt your hand, you grab your hand and you kiss it, right? You just know that you have Reiki energy already imbued. We already have these healing codes already imbued in our hands. And so we're learning to remember that, oh yeah, we possibly, through the stories, our ancestors are telling us the story of a new way of perceiving healing in our own geometric cymatical code that's going to be activated through new frequencies, Uranus, new thought form waves, Gemini, new patterns of recognition, new cymatics. Again, the womb, how we see our ancestors, how we work with water, how we work with our own primordial waters. This is a good time for gut cleansing, right? And for developing those psychic, deeply intuitive knowings, because we still have the North Node in Pisces up until July, and that's going to be shifting gears. It's going to be going into Aquarius. So we're going from water to air, right? From the water to the electrical, I think, to like the plasma, right? To the higher octave of water, the next stage of water, which is more dense, but yet it works faster because it has an electrical charge. So really working with those grounding sheets, drinking out of those copper mugs, perhaps, you know, using certain herbs and things that are just different, that will be useful at this time to balance your nervous system, to allow yourself to harmonize with your own innate abilities. Again, this is all just a story. So why not lean into the story and study, you know, check out what the ancestors, what the Greeks, what the Romans through their mythology were saying, and tune into your own gnosis about it. Perhaps study way showers like Dr. Joe Dispenza and the power of the placebo or the nocebo. Again, these are terms and things to activate within you. This was more of a channel transmission. Again, my satellite, what is it, the dish, satellite dish is tuned into this specific frequency today, just like in the movie Contact. So there's a big transmission that wanted to come through, and just please be on the lookout for more metaphysical transmissions, activations, just, you know, data points of information that wants to come through this particular channel, which is Livzenastrology. Again, if you liked any of this content, you found any value, please share with your friends and family and connect to the channel more often, because there's going to be more along the lines of Gemini, Uranus and Gemini. I've got it in my 7th house. So really activating the field with these words and those that are vibrational match to this type of content. So, okay. Thank you for being here, family.